Welcome back to Headlines. I'm Wes Austin, and these are today's top stories. In a resurfaced clip, Ilhan Omar referred to World War XI. We finally found someone who makes Joe Biden look like a Jeopardy champion.
The last time the Alien Enemies Act was invoked, it was used to detain and deport German, Japanese, Italian immigrants during World War XI.
Did you see that? She said World War XI with the confidence of someone who once got partial credit for spelling her name correctly. You know, most people either struggle with history or math, but Omar struggles with both at the same time. But at least we know that she can multitask. Jimmy is not giving up on his expectant widow joke. Kimmel is now defending his joke that Melania had the glow of an expectant widow, claiming it was really just a harmless joke about their age difference.
When I greeted the day facing yet another Twitter vomit storm and a call to fire me from our First Lady, Melania Trump, saying I should be fired, obviously was a joke about their age difference and the look of joy we see on her face every time they're together. It was a very light roast joke about the fact that he's almost 80 and she's younger than I am. It was not...
It was about their age difference. Sure. And Hunter Biden's laptop was about Best Buy customer service. Nothing says good-natured fun like telling a woman you can't wait for her husband to die so she can finally look happy. Melania responded to Kimmel's comments by writing this on X. Kimmel's hateful and violent rhetoric is intended to divide our country. His monologue about my family isn't comedy. His words are corrosive and deepens the political sickness within America. People like Kimmel shouldn't have the opportunity to enter our homes each evening to spread hate. Based on his ratings, we're talking about maybe 14 living rooms, and 6 of those are people who fell asleep and forgot to change the channel. Fauci's advisor just got indicted. The Department of Justice indicted a former senior advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci on Tuesday for allegedly concealing records during investigations into the origins of COVID-19. Fauci may have gotten a preemptive pardon from Biden, but his senior advisor did not. In other words, Fauci got the golden parachute and his advisor got the middle seat on Spirit Airlines. David Morans is facing charges that include conspiracy against the United States, falsifying or destroying records in federal investigations, concealing records, and aiding and abetting. So basically, his job description. Here are a few gems from his emails. I learned from our FOIA lady here how to make emails disappear after I am FOIA'd, but before the search starts. That sentence alone is worth about 20 years. In another email he said, there is no worry about FOIAs. I can either send stuff to Tony on his private Gmail or hand it to him at work or at his house. He also wrote that Fauci was too smart to let colleagues send him stuff that could cause trouble. Fauci's at home right now, clutching that pardon like it's his last tampon and the vending machine only takes quarters. Morans also oversaw an NIH grant to EcoHealth Alliance beginning in 2014, which later funneled U.S. taxpayer money to the Wuhan Institute of Virology for bat coronavirus research. Morans is facing enough years in prison to see the next 3 pandemics. He's going to sing so loud Fauci will hear the high notes from his living room. If I'm Fauci, I'm changing my phone number, my address, and possibly my face. SNAP recipients own 11 Lamborghinis, 3 Bentleys, and 3 Ferraris, and that's not all.
We found SNAP recipients had more than 2,000 Tesla owners, 200 Alfa Romeo owners, more than 144 that were receiving food stamps were driving Porsches. Again, this is the data dumps we're getting because before we had no accountability on any of these programs. We now are requiring accountability. The blue states are suing us. They don't want to share the data.
Apparently, some people were using EBT for food because the Lamborghini payment was eating up the rest of the budget. Look, I'm all for helping families in need, but maybe the first eligibility question should be, do you currently own a vehicle named after an Italian bull? And now onto the comment section. So the first segment we're looking at is the one about Ilhan Omar's husband's winery closing that we just did. So on that segment, we had this comment from Buckthorn Studios. How can you shut down a winery business that was never real? So let's look to see how real this thing really was. We have some details from this article that we looked at in the New York Post. And her husband's name was Minette. Was it? I just forgot his first name. But last name, Minette. Okay, so here's a few snippets about that. So Minette's business venture capital and boutique winery was started in the fall of 2021 after his prior consulting firm shut down. It wasn't a traditional brick and mortar winery, but rather just a label that subcontracted producers throughout the West Coast to bottle wines for them. When reached by the Post in February, a spokesman said the winery is dead. And then they did have a number of quotes from people on social media talking about this winery. So here are some of those comments. Many on social media have pointed out that they have been unable to access the winery's website, which no longer exists, or buy anything for months. Cannot find anywhere to buy their wine. This is weird, like it's not a real winery, one person wrote on Facebook. Another one added, I want to try a bottle of their fine wine, but I don't know any distributors that sell it. And a third person wrote, no phone number, address is a different business, can't order it because it doesn't exist, scam. So there were a lot of people commenting on social media like that. So yeah, I don't know how real, maybe it was just on paper, or mostly on paper, entity, corporate things that were created, but a lot of people were having a very hard time actually getting any wine from this place. So anyway, I don't know. It was definitely, there's some sketchiness going on with that winery. Okay, and then on the segment with Al Gore, good old Al Gore, warning about that the Ice Age could happen in 25 years now. So we had this comment from Jarhead0331. Al Gore's net worth was $1.7 million when he left office. He becomes a climate grifter and is now worth $300 million. STFU Al. And I won't spell out the acronym. But yeah, let's look to see what Al Gore's net worth was like, because that was a really interesting point that was made. So this is actually from CBS News in 2013, The Making of a Businessman, How Al Gore Got Rich. So this is looking back to when he was in office. So let's see, when he ran for president 13 years ago, remember this article was in 2013 when they're stating this. When he ran for president 13 years ago, Gore's financial disclosure forms show that his most valuable assets were in Arlington, Virginia home, whose value was listed between $250,000 and $500,000, and stock holdings worth between $500,000 and $1 million. His total assets on leaving office were between $780,000 and $1.9 million. Hardly chicken feed, but nowhere near enough to be a financial mover and shaker. So that's accurate from when he left office. Now let's look to see what he's worth now, back at the time. So when this was written, by 2008, Gore was already able to invest $35 million in hedge funds and private partnerships. After the sale of Current, I think that was the TV business that he was involved in, Forbes conservatively estimates that Gore is worth at least $300 million or more than Mitt Romney. So that is a crazy amount of growth to have in his assets from when he left office to, back in 2013, 1.7, 1.9 million up to 300 million. How does that happen? Something magical happened. And we've all heard Al Gore. Does he sound like a genius? Does he just seem like, yeah, of course he's going to just... No, not really. It seems like what was really happening. And we can all guess, but anyway, good point. Okay, then on the segment we did about Jimmy Kimmel and his wonderful comedy, The Expectant Widow joke, which is awful. So we had this comment. It was related to the Secret Service, actually. This comment was from XB Gamer. Secret Service hasn't been funded in over 72 days. And there's kind of a little bit of I know President Trump has been able to try to pay some parts of the DHS, so let's look into this to just see who's been paid and when. This is, I think, from, oh man, I didn't actually leave the link up. Whoops. Okay, I know this was a legit source when I pulled this up, but sorry that I don't still have that on there. Let's see. Correspondence dinner shooting rekindles DHS funding fight, what to know. So how long has DHS been shut down and who is affected? The DHS has been shut down since February 14th, making it the longest shutdown on record. Due to several executive actions by the Trump administration, select DHS employees have been getting paid through the shutdown, including active duty members of the Coast Guard and TSA agents. Earlier this month, all DHS employees received back pay from the beginning of the shutdown after Trump signed a memorandum directing they be paid out of previously appropriated DHS funds. This includes Secret Service agents, Coast Guard civilian staff, as well as employees at FEMA and Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. So that does include the Secret Service agents, which is what I wanted to talk about with respect to that comment that we had. However, the DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen, he said that there will be no money left to pay its employees after April, increasing pressure on lawmakers to act by the end of this week. So it appears that the Secret Service has, I saw a lot of people saying they haven't been paid, but then there were other sources that said actually they have been getting paid. This looks like they have been getting paid because of them pulling money from other places to help them get paid, but that will be ending here in a few days unless people in Congress pull their heads out, and I'm really talking about the Democrats. Okay, hey, thank you for your comments. Comments is not a word, I apologize. Thank you for your comments and for watching Headlines. I'm Wes Austin. Good night.